Welcome, Scorpio. It's your energy alert deep dive special forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Across the 28th to the 30th of June, there's a huge amount of planetary activity. Some of it is very high energy, but some of it could be incredibly draining. How do we navigate this? On the screen is the event chart of the Capricorn full moon. At the heart of all this, from a Scorpio perspective. I'm going to unpack this for you. By the end of the video, you'll have a clearer picture of what's upcoming in terms of your vitality, work, relationships, or finances. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. On the 28th of June, Mars, your traditional ruler, moved into the quick-witted sign of Gemini. Gemini energy is an air sign. Mars here can help us to be passionate about our ideas. But for you, it's in the 8th house, which has an echo of Scorpio. It's intense. It can be about change or evolution, but can also be about shared resources and even about long-term business and entrepreneurship. But Mars meets straight away, or has met straight away, Uranus. And Uranus is an electric vibe. It's very much to do with intuition, but the combination of those two creates a spark. And it's a spark that can see us do things very quickly. And that in itself can be hugely exciting. But on Tuesday, the 30th, Jupiter makes its way into the fire sign of Leo. It loves to be there, going to be there for 13 months, but links back to Mars. Now, they've been in a helpful sextile for a while, but the thing is, in Gemini, Mars gets the oxygen of the air sign, and the fire of Leo needs that oxygen in order for the flame to really burn brightly. So Mars and Jupiter in these two new signs is brilliant. And for you personally, if you are wanting to do something decisive around entrepreneurship, long-term financial planning, whether it is to do with your professional situation, because Jupiter is going to put you in the spotlight over the next 13 months. They're going to give you, Mars and Uranus, a lot of confidence to make quick moves. And that in itself, if you take the chance to do it, can be very enhancing to your sense of self-worth. What's the challenge? Well, Mercury, the communicator, also goes retrograde on the 29th. Mercury retrograde in Cancer is quite complex. All the retrogrades of Mercury this year in water signs, including your sign, will be the next one. And water can dilute, literally, the crystal clarity that Mercury thrives on, that cool detachment, because the moon rulership of Cancer can make our thinking, Mercury, our planning and precision, perhaps a bit more subjective than we even realize. So if you are wanting to do something expansive and freedom loving, the sun in Cancer, maybe to do with a travel plan, or to do something new, which is much more exciting and much more spontaneous, somehow or another, particularly with this impulsive energy of Mars and Uranus, if you go for it maybe too quickly, Mercury could bring up a snag. For example, maybe not having the right documents if you're traveling further afield, or the right inoculations, or perhaps there are issues with distribution at the moment. It's not necessarily a straightforward thing because we've got an energy crisis going on in the world. So that's something to be mindful of. But of course, we also have the full moon. So the full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is very much about control, responsibility, and containment. I think you get all of those energies fine. But the sun in Cancer is very much about emotional security. You get that. Instinct, you get that. But it's very protective. So you've got the sun in a sign which has all those more cautious energies, but in a part of your chart which is pushing you to go for it. And then you've got the moon in perhaps a more cautious position. The moon's in its detriment in Capricorn, your quick thoughts. So they're competing. So if you're wanting to do something spontaneously and exciting and create extra variety, Mercury can cause an issue, but also an issue can come because maybe the planning isn't quite working or you're not going for it because maybe the more emotional side of it is very important, totally understandably. But what we've got, and this is where the really draining vibe comes from, is Neptune in a T square with these guys. And therefore, Neptune acts as the fulcrum of the tension between the sun and the moon. Because obviously, the sun and the moon have very different energies. The sun wants to assert, the moon wants to be receptive. And what Neptune does in the square to the moon is perhaps creates a bit of confusion about some of your routines. Maybe your thoughts won't be as clear as they could be. And then Neptune in the square with the sun, if you are wanting to do something bold, you need to be mindful of the obligations and structure and responsibility you've got. So if you try to spin out without thinking it through, Mercury, because of the impulsiveness of these guys, it may be that it will all get bogged down and all start to come apart quite quickly. I think one of the things that really comes up with the complexity of that T square and the potential for exhaustion is the oscillation between the different energies, because it's a cardinal T square. They all want to be in control. They want to play boss. So the sun can be very controlling in Cancer. The moon in Capricorn, perhaps very cautious. And the Neptune position in Aries, very inspirational. But inspiration doesn't really go with practicality so much. It works better if in the first, third, ninth houses, the 11th house, not so much the sixth house, which is about making sure the routines are all crystal clear and working efficiently. So I think it's going to be important that if you are wanting to bring some liberation to your world, to do something dramatically different, that you don't stop doing that because you feel you've got to be there for others, the martyr complex. You're aware there could be some pulls around these different areas over the next few weeks for us all, and therefore are conscious of that. Be also aware that some of your plans, however exciting, if they're a bit vague, Neptune, they won't happen. And also because of the potential for emotional overwhelm that could come from this event as well. So I think the best way to handle it is to think about that part of your nature which has such a gift for getting beneath the surface for what things are really about. And if you can just slow yourself down, the high energy is essentially high octane. So it could be like being in one of those drag cars on a track and it goes from 0 to 100 miles in about 4.5 seconds. Lots of energy, but actually you see a lot of those cars have to have a big parachute on the back because they get so quick. They go so fast, so quick, they can't almost slow down. So we can almost have a surfeit of energy, and we need to use it in a thorough way. One of the things that's going to help you professionally, I feel, is that Venus, the relator, but also the planet of money, is in a very visible part of your chart in a stable link with Saturn. So if you could just slow things down, even if you've got a real sense of excitement or you want to change things impulsively, Saturn and Venus just act as a bit of an anchor. But if you've been in a romantic relationship, which has not necessarily worked as you would like over the last year and a half, with the North Node in the fifth house, and that's created a lot of evocative desire. Mars in a T square with those guys can actually push you to perhaps break free of some kind of hold or where you feel attached, because that attachment may not be very healthy. And that's where the full moon and the tension of it, just pushing you to think of freedom, even if it's not a straight path, could actually be very helpful indeed. So I'm going to summarize in detail the four areas of vitality: work, relationships, and finances, Scorpio. I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap, helps us to better understand our life patterns. 3, your 12 months transit forecast. but also your draconic soul karmic analysis, which helps us to understand astrology and life in a different way, but it's really fascinating. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your July monthly forecast or your Jupiter 13-month in Leo forecast, please click on the eye on the screen, the information eye, and it will take you through to them. If you would like to have a consultation with me, please see my testimonials below. It would be a pleasure. And you can sign up if you've yet to do so for your free daily written horoscope, which gets fired to your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop. Again, please see below for more on that. So in terms of your neat physical energy, if you're trying to do something to escape a pressure or something that's wearing and tiring, I totally get it. And that could be very, very strong, but you need to think it through. There needs to be a clear plan. And I think Neptune can make things vague. But if you do feel that your liberty is being prevented because you're involved in a situation which doesn't stimulate you, doesn't excite you, certainly doesn't switch on your mind or your emotion, and doesn't work practically, well, you really need to look at a change because it will just continue to drain you. In terms of your professional situation, Jupiter moving into that 10th house, it really is exciting because when Jupiter moved into Cancer, it really wasn't exciting. It was afflicted very badly by Saturn. Jupiter is blessed by Mars, which rules, like Jupiter, one of the 3D Cancer of Leo. So you've got a lot of associate energy. Mars rules a fire sign as well as your sign. And Jupiter rules a fire sign as well as Pisces. So I think your career could really start to strengthen over the next 13 months. But the key is around long-term finances, not to be too impulsive, and make sure you check out the details. So that's Mercury in the retrograde. In terms of your love life, Chiron's moved into the 7th house. I think it's really important, if you've had past bad experiences, to work on releasing them, because we've all had bad experiences. But if we don't change our relationship with ourselves, energetically, what we're giving out to the world at large is not good. That wound is given out. So we're probably only going to attract someone who maybe is good for the wound, but not necessarily good as a long-term partner. So work on that. But if there is someone you fancy a lot at the moment, it could get very exciting very quickly. It definitely could. As far as your uh, as your as your everyday finances, we haven't covered nothing in the 2nd house, but Venus, the planet of money, is in a very auspicious link with Saturn. If you're having an interview, as long as you don't rush it and be very clear about what you will and will not do, boundaries is really important to protect your energy. I think there's a great chance for you. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Scorpio. All the best and hope to see you again.